ESPN 710, Los Angeles Sports.
And it is the biggest show on the radio. Mason and Ireland is on for your Wednesday afternoon.
I think you have to dress up. I don't think I have to.
Yeah, no, you just have to look nice. I like
I'll wear a sport coat or something. Yeah.
Well, he's back. He's back from a Memorial Day weekend vacation in which there was a lot of social media. A lot of it with no shirt on and soaking wet. ... Welcome back, Steve Mason, to the show. And, of course, Johnny I's here. Here to inform. Here to debate. Here to make you feel something today. By the way, yesterday on the show, Beto Duran, speaking for Alan Sliwa, and maybe me speaking for Alan Sliwa too, promised an aggressive campaign for Slee to win Host of the Year for the second year in a row. Here's the problem, Slee. Why are you not campaigning to create the most painful night for Mason and Mandy's three, which is not just him losing Host of the Year, but you winning yet again? And yet again, the camera will be on him for his reaction, and he won't win when we open up that envelope.
Well, technically that could happen.
What hurt
if
the
anybody
most?
Else.
Okay. What was the band that did that song? Wasn't being so close, but Slee winning Host.
Yeah, but that's...
No, that killed him the most inside. So doing it again?
I'll ask Mace when he's in here.
We'll find out if Mace has any commentary for that. Plus that and so much more. Oh, and Mandy's tickets, get ready. Next week they go on sale. Celebrating their 20th year at ESPN Los Angeles. The biggest show on the radio. Mason and Ireland, your Wednesday afternoon right now.
Good afternoon.
So, what happened while I was gone?
Well,
I guess you guys were gone, too, for a while there.
Who?
No, we were all here.
Well, for Memorial Day, right? You were out
One
for
day,
Memorial Day.
Yeah, we were out that day, but every other
All
day.
right. My mom says you were bagging on me for taking time off again.
Well, that sounds like us. I don't remember specifically doing that.
No, she was very offended. She gets very upset when I told her, don't listen to the show when I'm not there. because whoever's not here is the whipping boy.
Oh, yeah.
That's basically the rule.
Yeah, that's how it works.
When I was sick, I listened to zero.
Good for you.
Knowing that I got
we talked
killed.
a lot about
No,
you.
you probably killed me in multiple times.
Yeah. So, I had a really good time.
talked about that much,
Went
actually.
to Scottsdale,
I thought you
Arizona.
were in New Mexico.
No,
you were in Arizona.
Scottsdale for a few days at this really great resort with a killer spa and a great gym. And, of course, John,
Did you use the gym at all?
I used the gym multiple times. I am telling you, I am so into this now. Went to the gym yesterday, went to the gym on Memorial Day. I'm like working my ass off right now. So
What's your weight at right now?
I don't know if what should I do with my weight?
Well, it depends. If you're working out as much as you are, you're probably adding muscle
Yeah,
but
see,
losing fat.
I'm
so
adding-
it should be around the same.
Yeah, I'm at 193. And I'm like right at 193 and have been for
You can
the
still
last couple weeks.
lose a couple. You probably get to like
What do
188.
you mean? I think you could lose a couple.
I didn't
What-
say I think you could-
said I think you could lose a couple.
I'm saying you can lose more. Like I'm stop it. This is what I come back to. It's unbelievable.
Wait a minute, no, this
No,
is
no,
what I
you-
come back
right.
to.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
haven't been
you
anywhere.
came back in.
Confused
Whatever
you
it is.
already.
You can go down a little bit, but still put on muscle.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Well, I'm going to try. I'm going to
That
try.
was a disaster for me.
I didn't get a chance to talk about Bill Walton, who's just was the most wonderful guy. And the thing that I took away from him more than anything is that guy just loved life, loved people. He put so much love into the universe, even when everybody else got bitter and negative and cynical and sarcastic. Bill was Bill. And I thought that was just beautiful about him. He will always be remembered. And I saw an interesting conversation. Actually, I think it was on Barrett Sports Media, John, about whether or not, obviously, there will never be another Bill Walton, ever. He was 100% original. But do you think that is the time for guys like Bill Walton over? In other words, gigantic personalities that sometimes overtake the game to some degree. Like when you watch a Pac-12 basketball game, Bill Walton and the colors and the unicorns and all that stuff. Is sports media now trying to dampen that down?
It's a great question. I think you need a perfect storm. For example, I don't know how much you guys have all been following this. This is a little inside baseball, but TNT is going to lose the NBA.
Yeah, sure.
And when they do, we're going to lose Ernie, Shaq, Kenny, and Charles. They'll be here next year.
Yes.
The thing that's great about that show is that the people who produce it absolutely do not get in the way.
Right.
Every television station I've ever worked for, management gets in the way.
Yeah.
They'll say, rap, get out. They never tell Charles Barkley or Shaq to rap.
Right.
They just let him go. They never told the people who produced Bill Walton's games never told him to tone it down. As a matter of fact, they let him go left and then left again and then sideways. And the problem is there's a basic work dynamic that people. This is why ESPN has never been able to catch TNT. ESPN has layers of bureaucracy. People that are being paid to be producers and then executive producers and then coordinating producers and then all the way up to the top head of ESPN. And all those people feel like, and I'm not singling out anybody in particular, I'm just talking generally, all those people feel like they need to earn their salary.
Right.
So they tell the people below them what to do. Mm-hmm. Nobody tells Charles Barkley and Shaq and Kenny what to do. And so it's this wild free-form thing. And to your point, Bill Walton was the best example of this anywhere. Half of the people hated Bill Walton.
A lot of people
They said,
hated
I'm
Bill
trying to
Walton as
watch,
a
my dad
commentator.
used to say, I'm trying to watch the game. What the hell is he talking about? And I feel sorry for those people that didn't enjoy the left turns. That we basically did the whole show about Bill yesterday. Michael came on and talked about him.
Yeah,
James Worthy came on and talked about him. He and I mean, stories. I sent you a story today that is 3 minutes long, but it is so typical Bill Walton. And I mean, I'll leave it up to you if you want to play it. It's long, but let's break and we'll play it coming back.
Okay.
Basically, here's how the story starts. Mike Breen, the lead announcer for ABC and ESPN, wanted to bring his dad and his brother out to San Diego and needed a recommendation for a hotel room. And he calls Walton. And you can only imagine that it turns left from there in the most wonderful of ways, and we'll play it for you coming up
Excellent.
next.
Want to let everybody know that I'm going to be out with the ESPN LA Street Team this Saturday, June the 1st, at the Santa Monica Pier for the LA Department of Mental Health Take Action event. The event's going on from 3 to 7, and I will be there starting at 3 for an awesome day of fun, learning, community, educational resources, interactive booths, live entertainment. For more details, visit takeactionla.com. Together, let's make a difference for mental health. Well-being starts here. Mason, Ireland, 710 ESPN.
Okay, if you are hiring, listen carefully. It can now take 11 weeks on average to hire for an open position. That's almost 2.5 months. Nobody's got that kind of time. Use ZipRecruiter. Right now, you can try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/LA. ZipRecruiter uses powerful matching technology to quickly find and send you the most qualified people for your roles. Or as Ian Siegel, the inventor of ZipRecruiter, says, they don't leave anything to chance. How fast can they help you? 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within 1 day. So speed up your hiring process with ZipRecruiter. Go to that exclusive web address to try it for free. ZipRecruiter.com/LA. Again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/LA. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire.
the OGs of LA Sports Radio. We're here each weekday, 1 to 4 p.m. for your afternoon. Sandwich between Travis and Sliwa and Sonato and Cap. Mason and Ireland continues now.
So you know what I did during the break there?
What?
Voted for the Mandy Awards.
Did you vote for yourself?
You know, I don't want to say specifically
Yeah,
I
I
voted for
figured you
myself.
did.
But every day I vote as a different movie character. Today it was Jake Gittes from
Bergman.
Chinatown.
Oh, I was just going to ask if Bergman knew where he was
Yeah,
from.
did you know Jake Gittes?
No, I have no idea.
That was Jack Nicholson's character in Chinatown.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Eventually, the entire cast of Chinatown will vote.
You know, you don't have to use different names.
I think it's more fun.
For you?
It's more fun for me coming up with different names. Now, did Beto launch a campaign against me? Is that what's going on?
Yeah, actually, he launched a campaign.
Because I saw a tweet that said, "Don't vote for Mason."
So,
yeah, Beto thinks the funniest thing that could happen is for you to be shut out at the Mandy's.
It's
I
more than
mean, I
because
think
you
it's
care.
I think it's totally possible I'm shut out. I was almost shut out last year.
He
The
actually
only
wants.
thing I got was for running around in my underwear. I'm not anticipating any Mandy Awards.
Yeah, he wants the entire show to get 0 Mandy Awards.
He doesn't want Mason Ireland to get a Mandy
not
Award?
One person on Mason Island, including Brian, to win anything at the Mandy's.
on now.
He wants the full just stop on Mason Island.
Well, there's a chance that could happen.
No,
It
there's a
very
chance
well
it could
could.
happen, but
Why?
why, Beto?
Yeah, why, Beto?
That's it.
Just
Beto,
randomly?
Well, he's done on this show. He's on he goes on the radio and campaigns against everybody on this show.
On the Mason Island show, he was on Travis and Sliwa doing it, yes.
Yeah.
All right.
Love Beto, but come on, man.
Good Lord, Beto.
All right. Hey, so
Brian, at least.
before we play this thing from this thing about Bill Walton from Mike Breen, what I've noticed is ever since Bill passed away on Monday, I've heard 50 of these stories.
Mm-hmm.
The guy Rick Carlisle had a good quote yesterday in a clip we played. Carlisle said, Bill competed for every moment in his life to be the best it could be. And the way he did it more than any other was he tried to make somebody else's day. That's what made him happy. And if you want some evidence of that, listen to me now. I want to point out, Mike Breen and Bill Walton worked together very briefly. Mike was at ABC, ESPN. Bill was at NBC and on the Pac-12 network, and then later crossed over for ESPN. But they didn't do that many games together. Still, listen to this story from Mike Breen.
So my dad had Parkinson's disease, and it started to get advanced to the point where we were afraid he wasn't going to be able to travel much. He didn't really want to go out of the house much. So my younger brother, Pete, gave me a great idea. He says, before Dad can't travel, why don't we take him out to San Diego, where the USS Midway is stationed as a museum. My dad served on the Midway during the Korean War and had not been on the aircraft carrier since he left the service. So we made plans to go, and of course, Bill lived in San Diego, so I called him to get a hotel recommendation that was near the Midway. And of course, Bill was like, you're not staying in a hotel, you're staying with me. And I convinced my father and my brother, and the three of us went, and we were going to spend 3 days at Bill's house. And when we got there, first thing Bill did is he put my father in the Bob Dylan room. The bedrooms were all named after people that meant something to Bill, and usually that's something to do with musicians. And the Bob Dylan room was a place of honor. So that's the first thing we did. Well, Malika, for the next 3 days, he did not leave my father's side. Wherever we went, wherever we ate breakfast or lunch or dinner, he was seated right next to my father. If we went for a drive in the car, my father was in the front seat next to him. And always like, John, you're next to me. John, you're next to me. Didn't leave him at all. And then when it came time to go to the Midway, we thought we were just going to go and buy tickets like everybody does who wants to go take the tour. But when we got there, Bill had called in advance, and he called to tell them that one of your heroes is returning to the ship that he served on. So the commander of the Midway is the one who greeted us. And we went on for about a 2-hour tour. And let me tell you, an aircraft carrier is no place for a 7-footer, especially one with back problems and knee problems, because there's small little areas. You've got to duck everywhere you go. And it was a painful walk for him. But he walked every step, again, right by my father's side. And it was very emotional for my dad to go back. And there were a couple of times where he broke down. And so, of course, my brother and I got emotional as well. And then I look at Bill, and he's got the tears streaming down his cheeks. And it was a special day for him and having Bill next to him. And we get back to the house, and there was one point I couldn't find where my father was and didn't know where Bill was either. And the two of them are back in the teepee. Bill had this huge teepee that was on the ground at home, and the two of them are back there, sitting there just talking. So by the end of the 3 days, Bill wasn't my friend. Bill was my father's friend. And when he came back, he didn't live much longer after that, but that's all he talked about. My mother, who's still alive, has said that he talked about those 3 days over and over again. They were the best 3 days of the late years of his life, which were difficult for him. And Bill made them the best 3 days.
I mean, and Mace, I've heard 50 stories like that from people over the last few days, how when you would call Bill Walton and said you were coming to San Diego, he would never let you stay anywhere but his house. He would roll out the red carpet. I mean, this guy was put on earth, in his opinion, to make other people happy, and he just nailed it over and over and over again. And, you know, let me say this too. John Wooden, when he died, John Wooden lived to be 99.
Yeah.
John Wooden was conservative in every way. He was conservative in the way he carried himself, politically, financially, was an old school coach. Bill was the opposite. Bill was extremely liberal, would show up for an Indian reservation protest if you asked him to, just to lend his name to the cause. And he used to drive Coach Wooden crazy. And there are many, many stories about how Bill came back one year with super long hair and a beard and walked into Coach Wooden's office and said, and he said, Bill, you need to clean up before we start practicing next week. Bill said, well, this is me, Coach. This is me expressing my individuality. And he goes, Bill, I'm sure we can find a school that'll let you do that. It's just not here. And Walton caved and went down to Westwood and got his hair cut and shaved off his beard and finished his career. And then, of course, he grew his hair long and, you know, was bad. But at the end of his life, for the last 8-9 years of his life, Bill Walton would call, Bill Plachy wrote an article about this Monday. Bill Walton would call Coach Wooden twice a week, every week, and talk into his answering machine until Coach Wooden picked up the phone. And he said, Coach Wooden told people that, you know, I love those conversations and I love talking to Bill. I don't get to say much because Bill does most of the talking. But he said he never missed, called him twice a week. And, you know, we live in such a polarized society now where like you can't be friends with people that are opposite of you, or, you know, everybody's entrenched in their various camps. Bill didn't care. He was in the people camp.
Yeah, he was in
he didn't care about your viewpoints or your politics. He just wanted to make your day.
Yeah, he was in the you know, what's the Beatles put love in?
All you need is love.
All you need is love. I mean, basically that was Bill. And we've told these stories over the years, but when we used to have Bill on the show, we both worked with him a little bit when we were at Fox. And Bill, the most amazing thing was you could say, Bill, welcome to the show. How are you?
In 5 minutes, you got a break.
We could walk away, and Bill would keep talking, and it would be engaging and colorful and interesting, and he had that knack. But he was all about, I mean, not only was he one of the greatest basketball players of all time, which a
lot of young kids don't even know. Yeah. They just know him as an announcer.
He's also one of the great human beings of all time. Really, really great guy. All right, coming up next for you, going to spin the wheel of questions. Now, Laura is out, right?
Knee surgery. It went well.
Did it go good?
She is recovering.
Okay,
and
good.
She's back next week, Greg?
She wants to be back Monday, but it just will depend on if she can walk.
Okay.
Yeah. Fair enough.
If she can't walk, she should not come in.
Yeah. No, she
Only
should
come
not.
if you can walk. So we'll do wheel of questions coming up next for you. Mandy's voting, Greg.
Yeah, Mandy's voting. It is time to make your vote count, as you were talking about earlier.
Vote against Beto for everything.
For the biggest night of the year for ESPN
Beto's
LA.
the worst.
Mandy's 3. Go to ESPNLA.com and click on the Mandy's 3 voting page logo.
Why do we even have him on the ballot?
Because he's a part of the station. Presented by the law office of
Just
Joseph
not part of the
S.
show?
Norman. Injury attorneys you can trust. 213-747-2000. Vote now at ESPNLA.com.
All right. Wheel of questions next. Mason and Ireland, 710 ES.
Radio Mason in Ireland here each weekday 1 to 4 p.m. You know what it's time for? What is this? It's time for Wheel of Questions. Producer Brian Cohen, are you ready with that wheel? Hit it, Jack.
All right, here we go. Wheel of Questions, and it's timely. Our friend Brian Cohen is going on a cruise.
Yeah, baby.
Tomorrow, I think, right?
Miami for a couple days, and then cruise starts on Saturday.
Very nice.
Where does the cruise go? It leaves from Miami and goes where?
Goes to, I think, St. Martin, like a U.S. Virgin Island.
Yeah, nice.
St. Thomas, I
St.
think.
Thomas, yeah.
And then,
good island.
San Juan, Puerto Rico, and Dominican Republic.
Oh, and finishing the DR.
Yeah.
Okay.
On my birthday.
So here's the issue. So Ireland is not a big cruise guy.
I would not go on a cruise, Brian. You could not pay me to go on a cruise.
I am not a cruise guy. I was on one years and years ago. I felt like a captive. And Bergman, what about you? Where do you stand on cruises?
Yeah, I'll go on a cruise.
Yo, you will.
I don't mind. Yeah,
okay.
I've done
then
one.
You don't count here.
So,
of course not.
Mace, how much would I have to pay you to go on a cruise? So you don't have to pay anymore. Brian's paying a lot of money to go.
It's already all paid for. Now, once I go, everything's already included.
So what would I charge to go on the same cruise Brian's on?
Yes. We're
Nice.
sending
Come on
you.
now.
We're sending you with Brian. You get to go to all those places he talked about.
And I get to hang out with Brian?
You do.
Oh, yeah.
But you're stuck on that floating petri dish.
Oh, it's a petri dish. It is. Mountains of shrimp. Digging your hands into a mountain of shrimp.
What's it going to cost you?
Frankly, I don't want to bag on Brian. You know what? I probably $5,000.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
$5,000.
Yeah,
you do it, Ireland, for $5,000?
Cruise for free, then.
For $5K. Do I have the ability to leave the ship at any time?
No, there's no emergency raft.
You go into he's going to, what do you say, one of the Saints?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind
all the
visiting
Saint islands.
All the Saint Islands.
St. Martin, St. Thomas, St.
I wouldn't mind visiting all the Saints. Minimum $5,000. I might hold out for $7,500.
Yeah. Now, why did you elect to go on a cruise? Have you been on a cruise before?
I have
whose
been on a
idea
couple.
Was this?
My family, my parents, they're retired. They go on a bunch of cruises, and we actually tried to have a full family cruise, Jamaica during COVID.
Oh, okay.
But then COVID kind of canceled this. So this is kind of like the makeup family reunion
kind
of cruise.
So who else has gone on the cruise?
My 3 older sisters.
Nice.
So them and all their kids. My aunt and one of my cousins.
Then I totally get it. I understand that.
In honor of that, let me read you a text from our friend of the show, Ed Hart. My wife and I went on a cruise in October with about 30 friends from our neighborhood. 8 people, including my wife, came back with COVID, going to stop going on cruises. So, of course, if you get COVID, you just stay on the boat.
Yeah, you're not going anywhere. Brian, I think it sounds like a great time for you and your family. I hope you all dig your hands into that mountain of shrimp.
I'm looking forward to it.
Do they have gambling on the boat?
Oh, of course.
Yeah,
nice.
Well, the cruise I went on was basically a floating casino, and I just stayed up all night and played the game.
What's your game, Brian?
I like blackjack. I'll play them slots. So my nephew just turned 18, and he's been hitting me up. He wants to hit blackjack. So
nice.
Here's how you make money.
With him.
Read up on this before you go.
Okay.
Caribbean stud poker.
Caribbean stud poker. Okay.
Yeah. So they give you 3 cards. There's a flop. But here's the thing. If you get a good hand, you get a full house, it pays you like 10 to 1.
Oh, really?
Very nice.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So you're not betting against other players. You're just collecting. So that's how you can make money if you're
nice.
Don't be like Mason and play too many hands. Just lay low and.
Last time I was so tight and it didn't work. Yeah, don't fold every time. I folded a lot in that last tournament I played. And well, Brian, we wish you the very best. Bon voyage.
Thank you.
And
when are
hope
you
you make it back.
I'm back.
Wear your life preserver.
Next Wednesday, or not next Wednesday, 2 Wednesdays.
Do you have to wear floaties?
You're out for the rest of this week and all of next week and part of the week after that.
Correct. Yeah,
Good for you.
I think it's 9 shows.
Good.
Good.
And who do we get filling in?
Cody Lue.
Lue. Cody's he's good. He's good. You trained him.
Great.
You taught him everything he knows.
He'll be awesome. He did Travis Lee for a whole 2 months too.
Okay,
so,
good. So he's got good experience. So we'll do that. Well, we hope you have a really good time. So
on the floating petri dish.
On the floating petri dish. With the
plenty
of shrimp.
Plenty of pictures.
So
take someone like Mason with your shirt off for no reason.
I got you in a little waterfall.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yeah.
That was for a reason.
What would the reason be?
So we would talk about it.
Did it come up?
Oh, yeah.
So
what do you think?
Yeah,
it worked.
We were talking about, is there anyone who has more pictures of just themselves on their Instagram than you.
Well, but in fairness, Instagram photos are for yourself.
Right, but
they are of nobody puts up pictures of other people.
Who was on the show last week? Nikki K was good when she came in.
She was great.
Nikki's that way. If you go on her Instagram feed, it's all pictures of just her with no other people. It's just her. That's
right.
you. You are the male Nikki K.
Do you put up pictures of other people, Bergman?
No, it's usually pictures of me and like my friends or Riley or just work stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's the point of it, really.
Yeah,
it's to put up pictures of yourself.
Well, put pictures you're in.
Right, but you don't do that. You take pictures and just put pictures of you.
Let me see if that's true.
I always have somebody else.
I mean,
with
like when
me.
you guys went to the Dodger game, you'll throw that one in there. But
yeah, that was
90% of your photos, at least the last time I looked at your feed, are pictures of you with no one else.
Well,
which I think is, Brian, like you're laughing, Brian. Don't you think that's a little unusual?
But the problem is Juan's camera shy. Juan's always there with me.
Yeah.
He's taking the picture,
Right.
so he's camera shy. That's why.
A little weird.
So I came across this story today. So there's a guy with a suspended license in Michigan.
Okay.
And he is asked to zoom into a hearing about his suspended license.
Okay.
So he zooms in.
The courtroom is on a Zoom.
On Zoom. Zooms in. And he is driving in his car while on Zoom. Now, who in the world? I have a suspended license.
Question.
Wait, I'll zoom in while I'm driving.
Question.
Yes.
I'm assuming that's illegal, right? If he has a suspended license, he's not supposed to be driving a car. Right?
You're not supposed to be zooming in a car at the very least,
Is
right?
zooming in a car on its own illegal?
Yes.
Sure, you're using your cell phone.
Right. It's in your hand.
But it's what if it's hands free? What if it's in the cradle and you just turn it on?
You're not supposed to have your camera on.
Is that right? Is that a
believe
rule
Why?
officially?
Yeah, I don't know because you shouldn't because you're not supposed to be looking at the screen. Yeah, you're not. Don't do it.
If you
don't
have a
do it.
suspended license and you're basically saying, "Hey, look at me, I'm driving," there's your first mistake.
Yeah. So this gets worse because I retweeted it.
Yeah, you did.
And I wrote just genius of the week. And I put a laughing face.
However,
Bergman,
I saw it and responded with misspelling genius makes this very funny. He spelled
genius.
He spelled
How did you spell it?
genius wrong.
GENUIS.
UIS.
Instead of IUS?
Yeah, instead of IUS. So genius of the week.
Calling someone an idiot by
done,
being an idiot.
Well done, me.
Yeah,
Well done,
that scores
me.
some points. Yeah, exactly.
So are we now all sort of accepting the fact that J.J. Redick is going to be the next head coach of the Lakers?
Yes.
It sure does seem. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there, maybe talking to other coaches, maybe James Borrego's still part of this, maybe Sam Cassell is still part of this, maybe Jared Dudley's part. There's all this stuff out there. I have to believe it's done. I know you're not allowed to think it's done, but do you?
Oh, I would tell you if I thought it was.
You don't think the job is his?
I think he's the one. He's the guy to beat. I think he's got the. I was on with two guys in Phoenix this morning, and they asked me. They said, "Do you think J.J. Redick's going to be the next coach?" I said, "He's the leader in the clubhouse.
Right.
If this were a golf tournament, he would have. He's had the lead since the first round, the second round, the third round. It almost sounds like it's his to lose, doesn't it?
Yeah, but you would think that at this point all the interviews are done. They've met with everybody,
Well,
right? Sam Cassell and James Borrego are both fair to meet, right?
Today's was one of the things they were waiting for. If the Clippers would have screwed up the Ty Lue extension, I think they would have gone after him. Just like if the Mavs would have screwed up the Jason Kidd extension, I think they would have gone after him.
Right. What was the number? Is $70 million for Ty Lue?
Right. Steve Ballmer's not getting outbid.
No.
He's got more money than God.
Well, in that case,
now that those two options are off the table, I don't even know who else is in the running with JJ. We've heard James Borrego, but he had a losing record as a head coach in Charlotte.
But it could be ideal to sit next to JJ.
Well, I agree, and Jared Dudley would be great.
Yeah.
To be your lead assistant, but to answer your original question, I'm operating that JJ's the guy.
Yeah,
but
I think that's the the right
Until
way
it's,
to operate.
It's the old swimming with shark things. Or not swimming with sharks. What's the Alec Baldwin movie we love?
Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, get them to sign on
On
the
the
line that is
dotted.
dotted.
Exactly
Until it's
right.
signed, it could, anything's possible.
Hey, John, with the Ty Lue deal, do you think that he signed that deal knowing that Paul George is going to come back?
I don't know. I think Paul George has a decision to make because he's going to get a max offer from Philly.
Yeah.
Right, and he's only getting 3 years,
Right.
apparently,
he can get
from
an
the Clippers.
extra year from the Clippers if they want to.
Right, but they don't seem like they want to.
Well, then I think he leaves. I think the reason he would stay with the Clippers is to maximize his salary. Sure. If they're not willing to max him, then I think he's gone.
Yeah, I think he could definitely be gone. And I think, by the way, I think that Ty Lue is just it's sort of like an institutional thing, right? They've got a whole front office and stacks of management and all that stuff, and Ty Lue is sort of the extension of that. It makes sense that he'd want to have a level of stability moving into the new building.
But with the Clippers without Paul George are not that great, right? I mean, like, Kawhi is not going to be healthy ever. So the rest of the team is pretty good, but they can't do it with Kawhi and Paul George. They think they can do it without Paul George?
Well, doesn't it kind of depend on what they do?
They'd have to bring in – they always win the offseason, though. And still get the exact same results.
Yeah, I mean, I hear it every year. This is the year of the Clippers. This year I heard it. Nobody's going to stop the Clippers. Clippers the team to beat. Clippers are still the Clippers.
Like, the Kawhi has played as many games as he has maybe ever in his NBA career this last year. Was hurt in the playoffs, so I would assume that he's going to play less games so he can be healthy for the playoffs, which means they're not going to be very good, especially without Paul George. Am I wrong?
Yeah, no, you're right. I just don't know what other moves are out there. I mean, I have a board, but I can't see anybody else. I can't see Lawrence Frank's board. I can't see Rob Pelinka's board. I have no boards to look at.
These boards must be amazing.
I just have my own board. Right. I've got names on it and arrows, and it's like one of those murder boards with red string going all over the place. This guy's going here, that guy's going there. All right, so how did Sports Graffiti hold up?
Good.
Yeah?
Yeah, it's been excellent.
We got it rolling? Good.
Yeah, people are starting to get it. They know when it's their time. No, by the way, did you hear the Jeremiah Whitten
You sent
song?
it to me, yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
It is
so
good.
We'll play it for you coming up. We got a fancy new open that one of our listeners did for us.
We will do that. Sports Graffiti is now 877-710-ESPN. Whatever you want to talk about for 15 seconds or so, the stage will be yours. 877-710-ESPN. You will hear your name. You will hear your Sports Graffiti. Go, and you will start talking. We'll do it coming up next for you. 877-710-ESPN. Mason, Ireland, 710 ESPN.
It is Mason and Ireland on 710 ESPN. Don't get it twisted, yo. The most downloaded sports radio show in Los Angeles. The podcast, that is.
Mason and Ireland, the number one most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles. The number one most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles, and we thank all of our podcast listeners for that.
If you ever miss a moment, get your fill anytime. Just search Mason and Ireland wherever you get your podcast.
Okay, so we mentioned that Jeremiah Whitten has written a song. We won't do this every single time, but in case you've never heard it, here's the rules of sports graffiti from one of our listeners, Jeremiah.
Berman hates callers, let me tell y'all why. They all call in, fill up all the lines. Producers try to scream, but they tell them lies. But they say the same things all the time. First of all, the directions are not hard. When the host says your name, that's the talking part. Turn your radio down, roll your windows up. Also stop calling up from the Walmart. Don't say bad words or they dump it, dummy. Don't say how you doing, cause we don't care. Got 15 seconds, so please just share. Kind of stupid nonsense you got up there. Why is Mark Jackson not the Lakers coach? Frankie D. Fresh calls and asking for your votes. Super fans read the host their love notes. What team should be where LeBron goes? The other day, some dude asked to handicap the horse race. John had to hold back to not laugh up in his face. And another dozen Raider fans say, hey, Derek Carr deserves a payday. Stop calling up saying that the Clippers are sweet. The only reason that you like them is the tickets are cheap. Listening to fans talking sports isn't that deep. I guess we'll just suffer through another call of the week. Berman hates callers.
All right, there you go.
Jeremiah. Very nice.
We'll play that
Very
once
nice.
a week for sports graffiti to remind everybody of the rules.
That's fun. So there are the rules of sports graffiti. You heard them. Let's hit the phones. Let's go to Jeff. Jeff, you're on sports graffiti. Go.
Good afternoon. Hey, just wanted to let you guys know I owe Greg Bergman an apology. Greg, you don't suck, like I might have said yesterday. That was my cell service. So this is me retracting and begging your forgiveness, sir.
Wow.
Please keep up the good work.
Someone
Thank you, Jeff.
appreciating Bergman.
He says, granted. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you're on sports graffiti. Go, Brian.
I'm in Los Angeles right now. I live in Ventura County looking for the best burger spot in L.A. Usually I go to the Apple Pan. I'm not sure if you guys have been there.
Oh, sure. Of course. It's an institution.
Mason used to live right down the street from there. So where would you send him now? Where is like the new best burger in town?
The new best burger in town. Let's see.
Would it be to a chain, like to a Five Guys, or would it be to a restaurant?
You know what? I like the place. Well, yeah, I like the place over by our old office. What was that called? Was it called Father's Office?
Yeah.
They did a really good burger.
There's a couple of
really
ideas for you.
All right, let's go to Eric. Eric, you're on sports graffiti. Go, Eric.
Hey, Mason Ireland. I just want to say, Mason, I think you have done so much for the gay community. You have normalized being a gay man, loving sports. I don't think you give yourself enough credit for it. So there you go. There's my 15. Go
all right.
Very nice.
That's it. It's very nice.
Very nice. Yep.
You're leading the gay sports fan movement.
Hey, Pride Month. In fact, Saturday night when we're at the LAFC, it's Pride Night.
There you go.
Yeah. Let's go to Kenny. Kenny, you're on sports graffiti. Go, Kenny.
I was going to say that Jaime Jarrin doesn't get enough love, but you guys had him on your show, I think, a week and a half ago, so I'm going to take that back. But he's a living institution. Go Jaime Jarrin. Go Bruins. R.I.P. Bill Watson.
All right,
we'll say this about Jaime Jarrin. You won't meet a nicer guy.
Oh, my goodness. What a nice man.
For his somebody who's had the level of success that he's had to be that nice to everybody and that grounded is really cool.
Yeah. Anybody with that kind of longevity is just blows me away. Let's go to, Raider Rubin. Raider Rubin, you're on sports graffiti. Go.
Hey, what's up, guys? Getting ready for tonight. LAFC tonight versus Minnesota United. But let's go Saturday. I can't wait to see you guys. Hope to see you at the tailgate before the match. But I can't wait. Also, shout out to the 42 Originals and the 3252. Can't wait. Vamos LAFC.
All right.
Vamos LAFC.
Yeah, the Raider Rubin is one of the guys. He's in the 420 Originals. We're spending part of the game with the 420 Originals and part of the game with the Pride Group in the 3252.
Yes, we are.
Let's go to AD. AD, you're on sports graffiti. Go, AD.
Welcome back, Mace. Agreed with you on the Father's Office recommendation. Just wanted to say, if we're going to hire J.J. Redick, let's lock him in for longer than LeBron. Let's do what the Celtics did with White. Oh my God.
Joe Mazzulla.
Joe Mazzulla.
Yeah, they just surrounded him with a bunch of veteran coaches.
Before Udoka, White is their GM now.
All right, thanks. I'm not sure where that went, but
Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the general idea. Let's go to Mike. Mike, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go, Mike.
So you guys might think I'm crazy, but I actually don't care if the Celtics win a championship this year. Maybe they'll light a fire under these Lakers now that we got to play catch-up again. Have a good day.
Sorry, no, we cannot root for the Celtics
It's
in any
never
way,
okay
shape,
to
or
root
form.
for the Celtics for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Boston.
Exactly.
Go Mavs.
Let's go, Josh. Josh, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go, Josh.
All right, I got one for Ireland. I got one for you, Mace. So,
Cool.
Ireland, what's the stigma on Sam Cassell? How come he doesn't get an opportunity? And, Mace, who's the moron you're listening to that says it's the Clippers year, Clippers year? Come on now. And, hey, keep Californians out of Texas.
Keep Californians out of Texas.
Okay.
Sam Cassell, I think, will get an opportunity. He's just been an assistant for a long time.
As for people who were saying that, some of the people who were saying that were John Ireland.
Yeah, I think the Clippers looked really good earlier in the year.
Yeah.
They were the best team I saw in person in December, and they always do that fade, that
Yeah.
late season fade.
Yeah. All right, let's get one more in here. Let's go to Gustavo. Gustavo, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go.
Yes, Darvin Ham should not have taken D'Lo out of the game at the end in Game 2. He was on fire. That didn't make any sense. Also, I just want to say I love my wife, Bridget Lopez, if she's listening. And thank you for giving me my 2 children, Bridget.
Wow.
Very nice.
They're
Sorry.
very heartfelt.
For Bridget.
Okay.
Now, this I was going to cut it off, and Bergman said, no, keep going. Bergman's asking for the bit to keep going.
Well,
the
that's-
phone call bit you like, right?
Yeah, this actually works.
This
so
works.
I don't know why you wanted to.
Okay, let's go to Tom. Tom, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go, Tom.
Okay, when I was in high school in Long Beach, Walton came down from the Clippers, and he couldn't run, so they brought him over to our high school pool and swam, and he was great. He came in and played water polo with his red scraggly beard, his arms sticking out. He could stand from 7 feet. He was great, and I ran into him about 20 years later when he was doing an autograph session, and he said, I said, Long Beach Wilson water polo. He goes, the hardest thing I've ever done in my life.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, he is one of one.
Yeah, for sure.
Bill Walton.
All right, let's go to Fabian. Fabian, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go, Fabian.
Hey, what's up, guys? Hey, I just want to say, all you Raider fans are delusional.
What?
You guys say that you guys are going to take it this year. You guys ain't going to do anything. Hey, you know what? I'm a Chargers fan all day. And if the Raiders have a better record at the end of the season than us, I will shave my head as well.
Wow, Brian.
So wait a minute.
Solidarity.
Do you have any hair? What if
Do we
he's
have-
bald?
Do we
We
have
don't know about him.
multiple people willing to shave their heads if the Chargers have a worse record than the Raiders?
We're confident, baby.
There's a lot of.
Yeah,
You're
very
confident every
good.
year.
You're
What if you
something,
won?
that's
What
for
if you
sure.
actually won?
What's that?
What have you actually won as Charger fans?
Yeah, what have you won?
They went to one Super Bowl and got blown out.
Right. That was the year I was born.
Year you were born.
Good, you have all that
Let's go.
confidence.
So you've never seen the Chargers in the
I've
Super
never even
Bowl?
seen him in the championship game.
Even in the championship
Right.
game, yeah. Wow, that's
on
too
now.
bad for you.
Hey, it'll
Sorry.
happen.
Let's get one more in here. Let's go to Brad. Brad, you're on Sports Graffiti. Go, Brad.
Sports Graffiti, my favorite segment I haven't heard in over 30 years when I would stay up late listening on my clock radio I got for my bar mitzvah. Wasn't that you and Seth, Mason?
There's probably me and Schwartz.
Yeah, I
in
think
those
you and
days.
Rick
Yeah.
invented it. Yeah, way back in the
invented it
day.
years ago. Thank you, man. Yeah, we did. All the old bits are good again. Sports Graffiti, old bit, good again. I stole it, by the way. I think I stole that bit from somebody.
Oh, radio is all derivative. Nobody's ever come up with the original idea in radio. Everybody takes from everybody else.
It's true. It's true. What do you think of this? This is baseball has decided to add Negro League statistics.
Oh, I'm glad you brought this up.
To their
Okay.
record books. And that means Josh Gibson now has the best batting average ever.
He also has the
above
best
Ty Cobb.
Yeah, but he also has the best slugging percentage ever.
Yep.
Ahead of Babe Ruth. I think when I first heard this, I went, "What are they doing?" The Negro Leagues didn't keep completely accurate records, and for example, the year that Josh Gibson had a better slugging percentage than Babe Ruth and a better batting average than Ty Cobb, he only played in 39 games.
Right.
He wouldn't even qualify currently. But having said that, so I think it's a little weird that they're doing it. Having said it, I think they're righting a cultural wrong. And when we talk about baseball records, we often talk about the fact that the Negro leagues were not recognized. I think it's the right thing to do. Even though he only played 39 games, and his team, by the way, that year only played 58 games, I think it's the right thing to do. They're just records, and those guys should be in those conversations.
By the way,
so I don't have a problem with it.
He is in the Hall of Fame.
Right.
Josh Gibson's in the Hall of Fame, got in years ago.
But Satchel Paige is the same way. He was an unbelievable player. He just didn't get to play in the major leagues.
Yeah, basically what they've done is they've opened up the baseball historical records to 2,300 Negro League players, and now their accomplishments are going to be part of the league's official database. It so happens that Josh Gibson now becomes the all-time batting champ in baseball. I guess you can't even say Major League Baseball, right? It's just baseball.
Right, because he never played in the major leagues. But it's the right thing to do. Those,
Yeah,
I mean,
it is.
I think, like, everybody says that Roger Maris shouldn't have had an asterisk after 61.
Right.
Because, he hit 61 homers, and they played a 162-game season, and when Babe Ruth used to play, it was only 156. But now, I mean, I don't even think Maris has an asterisk. Like, if I ask you this, off the top of your head, best single-season home run hitter ever is who?
Maris.
Right.
Yeah.
It's not.
Right.
It's
I know it's
Bonds.
not. I know it's not, but I don't
think
count Bonds.
Right. And I think there are a lot of people, like all-time home run king is who?
Babe Ruth.
Henry Aaron.
Oh, I'm sorry. Henry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
755.
Right.
Henry Aaron.
I don't recognize
Bonds
anything that came
passed
after
him. But that's what records are for.
By the
Records are to be debated. And so if you want to put these guys into the conversation, I don't see a big problem.
So, what's interesting is Josh Gibson, his plaque in Cooperstown says he hit almost 800 home runs. Now, those almost 800 home runs are not being incorporated into the record books, probably because it says hit almost 800
nobody
home runs.
knows. They
it's
didn't
just a
keep,
ballpark. Something like
Bergman,
800.
you're a big baseball fan. How do you feel about this?
So, I mean, I like that they're being recognized. I think it's hard for me to say, like, yes, he's the new batting average king after 35 games. Guys hit 35 games, they go nuts over 35
35-game hitting streak is not that uncommon.
Right,
yeah.
no, that, I mean, it does. So I
think there was a 35-game stretch where Tony Gwynn once almost hit 500.
Right, exactly. So if you take that, it's weird to me.
It's a little weird, but
I like that they're recognizing them. Absolutely. All
Yeah.
of that is very much true. I just don't think that you should say that that's the new batting average king. I'll be honest with you, though. I did not realize that, who was it, Ty Cobb had the best batting average of all time?
367.
Yeah, I didn't know that, so I don't care who has it,
right.
to be honest.
Right.
It's cool. So good for him. Good
he
for Josh
hit
Gibson.
almost 800 home runs. We don't know exactly.
Yeah, see, that's the other part of it. We
Almost.
don't know what they
something
actually
like
did.
The ballpark
in
of 800.
35 games,
Yeah,
800 home runs.
800
really
home
good.
runs. No, I think it's actually cool that they're being recognized.
cool.
Now, what I wonder is, does that mean all the stats are now on Baseball Reference? Like, I just pulled up Josh Gibson, and Josh Gibson never played in Major League Baseball.
It will be eventually. This is the end of a 3-year project to document the Negro Leagues, and I think once they get all that information onto the internet, that you'll be able to do that.
But it also, if they don't actually have the stats.
Right, and you
hard to
don't
put
know
anything.
if they were 100% accurate.
Right.
Because there's very little video from back then, if any at all. And
Under home run, on his Baseball Reference page, under home runs, it says 800-ish.
Yeah.
800-ish home runs. All right, coming up next for you, this is weird. Bronny James has set his workout schedule to get ready for the draft. It's a very interesting schedule we will talk about coming up next. In the meantime, this Saturday, you can hang out with me at the Santa Monica Pier from 3 to 7 for the L.A. County Department of Mental Health Take Action event. It's going to be an awesome day of fun, learning, community educational resources, interactive booths, live entertainment, and I'll be there as well. I'll be there around 3 o'clock, so it's like the home run total. I'll be there around 3 o'clock. Give or take. And I will look to meet you out there. You can connect and learn and take action for your mental well-being. For more details, visit takeactionla.com. Together, let's make a difference for mental health. Well-being starts here. Mason and Ireland, 710 ESPN.
That's 3
Radio, we're here each weekday, 1 to 4 p.m. for your afternoon. Sandwiched between Travis and Sliwa and Sonato and Cap. Mason and Ireland continues now.
I forgot to ask you about. Let me see.
Have you started listening to this yet?
Nonstop. His
It's
whole
great.
album, Teddy Swims. Great.
Who is this?
Teddy Swims. Great soul R&B. Oh man, great vocals.
I've been listening to it for weeks now.
It's
On
really
repeat.
good. Really good.
Huh. Hey, I meant to ask you, did I see that you got Christopher McDonald on the Culture Pop podcast?
Yeah, he's on it right now.
Oh, my gosh. I love that guy.
He's
This is
so
the guy that
great.
played Shooter McGavin in Happy Gilmore.
Yep.
He played the Jerry Jones character in Ballers.
Yep.
But he's such a good he doesn't take himself too seriously.
No, not at all.
Which makes him a great foil.
Yeah, he's
you know?
really, really fun. And he talked about, I actually think there's a clip out there, but you know the last putt in Happy Gilmore
Right.
is his long putt?
Yeah.
And they gave him 7 shots,
Mhm.
and on the 7th shot, he sunk it.
And started doing the
so
thing with
it's
the
and
finger
that
guns
was
and-
all improv, but they wanted him to actually make the putt for the movie as opposed to just cutting away to the ball going into the cup.
Right, good for him.
Yeah. So and they're working on Happy Gilmore 2 now.
Yes.
He almost let the cat out of the bag at one point and apparently got in trouble, but now it's officially happening over at Netflix. So Bergman, you went to see Lion King at the Hollywood Bowl.
Yeah, it was really, really cool. I've always wanted to see the stage play, and I
Yeah.
never have gotten around to it. But this was really cool because it was all the original
Until
voices.
Northwest got up there and started singing.
Now, so
that's-
Northwest, who is Beyonce and Jay-Z's.
No, Kim and Kanye's.
Oh, Kim and Kanye. Yeah. What is Blue Ivy? Is
Yeah.
Blue
Yeah.
Ivy, right?
Yeah,
so this is Northwest.
Yes, Northwest.
And Northwest performance was
She was a 10-year-old that
Yeah.
sang, and that was nothing special, nothing. She wasn't god awful, but she wasn't some amazing voice either. They put her in a little lion outfit and
Right.
danced around.
And did you like all the puppets and the
That
birds
was all
flying and all that
super
stuff was cool? Yeah.
But this was also the first time that Jason Weaver, Nathan Lane, and was it Ernie Sabella were all on the stage at the same time because they did Timon, Pumbaa, and Young Simba.
Right.
And so that was really, really cool.
Yeah. Have you seen the stage show, Ireland, of Lion King?
I've seen the play at the
play, yeah,
Pantages.
with the birds
Yeah.
and all the
Yeah, I
puppets.
liked it a lot.
It's genius stuff. So, all right, today we get news that Bronny is going to do some workouts.
Kind of.
And he is going to work. Here's the list. He is going to work out for the Lakers, the Phoenix Suns, and that's it.
All right, now, let's be clear about this. Shams is reporting this.
Well, I mean, Shams is totally credible.
Rich Paul is saying he's not mentioning teams. He's saying he has invites from several teams, maybe as many as 10, and we are sorting through that now. But Shams doesn't go with this unless somebody at Clutch told him this.
Of course.
So I think that now, is that smart or stupid if you're Bronny?
Well, I mean, he's going to be a Laker. I mean, come on. I understand, it's going to work out for the Lakers. Makes perfect sense. He's going to be a Laker. It's going to happen whether it's 55 or it's an undrafted free agent. Unless somebody jumps him, I think he's going to be a Laker. So I understand why he would limit his workouts. My question is, why Phoenix?
James Jones.
Oh, yeah.
Good friends with LeBron.
Right.
Is the GM there. It's close.
Yeah.
It's an hour flight. Rich has made it clear he's not interested in a two-way.
Yes,
so
he has.
He wants somebody that has some roster space, and the Suns are going to turn over that roster because they have a new coach coming in.
Yep.
I just think it checks the boxes because the Clutch guys all know James Jones.
Right.
That's a friendly landing spot and a guy they trust. But I'll go back to this again. If the Lakers take Bronny at 55 or sign him as an undrafted free agent, I have zero issue with it. I'm kind of surprised by the venom.
People don't like Nepo. People don't like Nepo babies. They don't like people who get a leg up.
Okay, here's the thing about Nepo babies.
Yeah.
It gets you in the door.
Yeah.
But then you have to make it on your own.
Right.
The best example of this, I used this last week, I can't remember if you were gone, is Noah Eagle. Eagle's son.
Makes perfect sense.
He gets out of Syracuse.
Yep.
And he gets the Clipper play-by-play. He's an NBA play-by-play guy at 22. And everybody said, oh, that sucks. He's Iron Eagle's son, Nepo. He's great.
Right.
He's really good at it. He has a chance to have even a better career than his dad.
Right.
So he took the opportunity that he got off his last name.
Right.
And he made it work. Now, there's a guy at NBC named Jax Collinsworth.
Yeah, right.
They just fired him.
Yeah.
He got his job and his name because he's Chris Collinsworth's son.
Sure.
They gave him Notre Dame football.
Yep.
And he flopped. He's out. So Bronny's going to get opportunities because of his last name, but he's going to have to sink or swim on his own merits. So why hate on him?
Okay, so the thing about Nepo babies is they can't help it.
Right. That's a very good way of putting that.
You can't. I mean, if you are, you are, and you've got to deal with. And there are going to be people that look at you and say he's only there because. But you're right. If there is a flame out, your Nepo, your relations don't necessarily reflect.
Your last name can get you in the door.
Sure.
But once you get through it, the owner of our company, Craig Karmazon, is a good example of this. His dad, Mel, was one of the most successful broadcast executives of all time.
Yep.
Craig, because his last name is Karmazon, was able to get a lot of meetings, started his own company, and now he owns like 7 or 8 radio stations, and they're all killing it.
Right.
See, this is different, though. This is a guy that obviously did not play very well in college.
Right.
And the narrative around it was yours that you're talking about. Maybe he'll get 55. Maybe he'll be undrafted. But the storylines that keep coming out are not doing that for him. And yes, it's all Rich Paul, because the only time that Bronny's actually spoke was after the NBA draft combine, and was very good about what he was saying. However, now the stories are coming out. I'm not going to take a 2-way contract. I'm only going to go to the Lakers and the Suns. And now there's talk about how he's going to be the number 22 pick with the Suns. That's out of control. It made it so much bigger.
Shouldn't we wait until that actually happens before we start criticizing
Those
him?
are the stories and what Rich Paul and what they're all pushing that narrative out right now.
Right.
That's why people are upset. Not because Bronny's doing anything, and of course he has to figure it out, but that he hasn't shown anything yet to be worthy of a first-round pick.
Right.
Totally agree with that.
I do too, but he's not a first-round pick. He hasn't been picked yet. Now, if he does, if he gets taken with the 22nd pick and this thing you're suggesting happens, I could see where criticism would follow. But, Greg, the criticism has already happened. There are people that hate him. I mean, that
are there people that actually
in this market?
Well, that's
that
stupid.
go on the
It's
air
not
every
him.
day and they say,
you can't blame
this
him.
kid is not an NBA player. He should not be drafted. He should not get an opportunity. The opportunity means nothing. He went to Chicago and played well. He had a workout last week for a Clutches Pro Day, and he killed it. So if he's playing well and a team wants to draft him, he's going to sink or swim on his own merits.
But let's not kid ourselves. If his last name were not James, he would not be in this conversation.
If Joe Buck's last name was Buck,
if he was some kid that scored
given the job at
another
Fox
kid that scored
25.
the other guy that scored 4 points a game in college is not in the contention to be a draft pick at all.
It's exactly that. It's what if you put blind resumes next to each other, he's not getting even talked about.
I want you to Google somebody. Google Peyton Watson's college career
I
at UCLA.
I watched him at UCLA.
Okay.
I know what his college career was like. Yeah, he also sat out in that first year. He had to sit on the bench.
Right. He had no statistics to speak of at all.
But
Denver
he jumped
took
out
him
of the
in
gym.
the
Was like
first round.
Yeah, he was like 6'7", jumped out of the gym and was an excellent defender. Bronny is 6'1" and has not done anything that has shown the type of athletic abilities that Peyton Watson
Right.
did.
Yeah. I don't know if Bronny is going to be any good or not, but I'm not hating on an opportunity for him because his last name is James.
No, good for I say good for him, but the reason he's getting drafted is because he's LeBron James' kid.
And
he hasn't, first of all, he hasn't been drafted.
By the way, and that's not hating on him.
He hasn't been drafted. And just because there's stories out there that he could go in the first round or he could go to the Lakers at 55, let's actually wait to see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think look, the reason he's only working out for 2 teams is because he's going to wind up with the Lakers. This is part of the deal in signing LeBron. You're going to bring in J.J. Redick. You're going to bring in Bronny James. And you're going to roll with LeBron for another couple of years.
Right. And if that gets him a head start ahead of everybody else, welcome to the real world. People get opportunities all the time based on who their parents are.
Yeah.
It's what you do with the opportunity once you get it. And let's see what he does. He may flame out, or he may be great. We'll see. But I'm not going to hate on the guy before he ever gets a chance.
Yeah, nobody's hating on the guy.
What are you talking about? Nobody.
But what do you define as hating? In other words, saying you're totally fair saying he isn't draft material,
right?
Because he has no resume. Nobody's seen him for any. But that's not hating on him,
right? But there are people every day in the media that say this is not an NBA player. How do you know? I don't know if he's an NBA player or not. I mean, I watched NBA players get drafted high and flame out all the time. What do I always tell you guys? Look at the draft.
Right.
Half of the players in the draft won't make it.
But if I say to you, do you think Bronny's going to make it as an NBA player? What would you say?
I say I don't know.
Okay, so it's somebody without the last name James. Let's say there's just some random person on UCLA. Like when it was Tiger Campbell. Did you think Tiger Campbell could have made it? Or Jaime Jaquez? Or whoever, Peyton Watson?
Yeah.
Just take out the name James. You will never say, I don't know. You're like, no, I don't think he's good enough.
Wait, I thought Tiger Campbell could be a backup point guard in the NBA. I still do.
He's not.
Yeah, I know. But I thought Peyton Watson might sink or swim. Peyton Watson looks like he's going to play in the NBA. Who would you rather have right now, Greg? Okay. Right this second, I'll give you a choice. Box A is Bronny James. Okay. Box B is Jalen Hood-Schifino. Who do you want?
Jalen Hood-Schifino.
Why?
Because we saw him in college, and he was a first-round draft pick, and he just hasn't had a chance because on this team he hasn't been out there. But he's played on G League teams, and he has played in the NBA so far. We don't know anything about Bronny James. If you watched Bronny James in college, you would say, that's just a guy.
Right.
So this is not hating on him.
But every NBA team has players that are just a guy.
Well,
right.
I understand.
But I think he's got a... I think he's trying to be just a guy. Like, right. I don't think he is just a guy even yet. I think he's got to become the guy. And by the way, the no two-way thing is ridiculous. I mean, you can go to the G League and get reps. Why would you not want to play as much as possible? Why are you rejecting the concept of a G League contract or a two-way deal?
Well, I may be wrong here, but I think you can still go to the G League even if you're not on a two-way contract. You can voluntarily go.
Right. You think that's going to happen?
What it does do, yeah, I do actually.
I don't at all.
You don't think Bronny James will ever play a game in the G League?
Absolutely not. If he's on the Lakers, he's going to be on the bench.
How much physical money do you want to bet on that?
Well, it's not going to matter until next year anyway.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he's going to go where he can get reps.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, are you going to...
Austin Reeves wasn't on a two-way in his first year, and he spent
Are you going to get more run as the 15th guy on the bench or in the G League? Obviously, in the G League, you should take advantage of that. It may not... What's the difference between a two-way contract? They can assign you to the G League on a
two-way contract has a limit on how many games you can play in the NBA. If you're not on a two-way, there is no limit.
Okay, got it. So there's no... Right, so he could still play in the G League.
Right. But I think he has to volunteer to go.
Yeah. All right, tell you what, coming up next, I've got... You know what I've got, John? You know what I've got? Kenny Smith and Charles Barkley in a debate last night.
Yeah, this was interesting.
It is. It's a really interesting debate because I was thinking about it myself before I even heard this. We'll do that coming up next. In the meantime, hey, hang out with me this Saturday at the Santa Monica Pier for the L.A. County Department of Mental Health Take Action event. The event's going to be from 3 to 7, and I'm going to be there about 3 o'clock for an awesome day of fun, learning, community with educational resources, interactive booths, and live entertainment. For more details, visit takeactionla.com. That's Saturday, 3 o'clock at the Santa Monica Pier. Together, let's make a difference for mental health. Well-being starts here. Mason and Ireland, 710 ESPN.
Sedano
Mason in Ireland on 710 ESPN. Don't get it twisted, yo. The most downloaded sports radio show in Los Angeles. The podcast, that is.
Mason in Ireland, the #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles. The #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles, and we thank all of our podcast listeners for that.
If you ever miss a moment, get your fill anytime. Just search Mason in Ireland wherever you get your podcast.
Yikes, I think we might have screwed something up.
What's that? Wouldn't be the first time, by the way.
Well, I got a text from Shinano that says, great segment. We must have screwed that up.
Something went wrong.
I don't think I've ever gotten a text from Shinano that says great segment.
Positives.
I'm trying to figure out where George is. He's probably in Minnesota by now. He's covering that series.
No, he's back. No, Georgia was doing the Boston, Indiana series.
Oh, right.
Okay,
so he's back. He should be in studio today.
Oh, okay,
yeah.
Okay, good.
He's going back next week to Boston.
All right, so Mace, you brought up this thing. I've been thinking, watching Kyrie Irving in these playoffs, I've been thinking, how frustrating would this be to people in Boston and in Brooklyn who moved heaven and earth to get Kyrie Irving and thought this was the Kyrie Irving that they were getting. But in Boston, he went on all these weird tangents, and in Brooklyn, he just spun off the planet. Remember, he sent out that
completely anti-Semitic movie. Yeah,
and he disappeared for 4 days, and nobody at the Nets knew where he was. And so the other day on TNT, again going back to what we were talking about last hour, TNT will talk about anything. This conversation we're about to play for you would never happen on ESPN. They're not this candid, but TNT has no rules. So Kenny Smith started to talk about how he feels all the criticism about Kyrie has been unwarranted, but Charles Barkley...
I've never said it. Sorry about that.
Charles Barkley said, no, it hasn't. This runs about a minute and a half. Listen to this.
I've never said it to Kyrie, but I've said it to Stephen A. Because at one time, Stephen A. was an advocate about having a battle with this guy. And I had to call Stephen. I'm like, this guy's from our neighborhood. I named like 6 people. And I said, Stephen, those people mentored you. They mentored him. So when you say something about him, you're actually saying it about us. And so he understood, and they kind of fell back. And because as a media person, we have to understand that young men go through young things. They grow up, they learn things, and they appreciate things, and they have a different viewpoint than we might have had. But as a basketball player, you gotta double this guy. And if you don't double this guy, you go home in 4. And that's the difference between this Kyrie, and I love to see
Who's in the building, Kenny?
Superman is in the building when he has the ball over there.
Yeah, all that stuff is good. He self-inflicted himself. He got to take some responsibility. I think he's grown up. I think he's matured. Stephen A. and other people criticized him, and he rightly deserved it. You can't go out there being anti-Semitic, and you can do the vaccine thing. That's your own thing. But he deserved the criticism he got. He deserved the suspension he got. But as a basketball player, I think he's really grown up.
And remember, we debated around here for weeks whether or not the Lakers should go get him and pair him with LeBron. And you were adamant.
And I continue to be adamant.
That you wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Certainly not then.
Right.
I mean, nobody's ever questioned his abilities as a basketball player.
Just whether or not you could count on him to show up.
Right. But also the anti-Semitic views, and he never did apologize. The anti-Semitic views are not excusable. I mean, he's right to get all the criticism.
He got suspended for it.
He got suspended for it because he wouldn't apologize. That's the thing with Kyrie. So, I mean, that's the reason why I wanted no part of Kyrie. Now, he seems to have found himself. He's not had any incidents, all that kind of stuff. And he's playing spectacularly and is a game away from the finals. So good for him. But, I mean, at the end of the day, I stand by my position that I didn't want Kyrie on the Lakers.
If you could get him next year, would you take him? It's risky.
It's very risky.
He could revert back to what he was doing before, but he's an
unbelievable player. Yeah.
So,
I know, Bergman. What about you?
I mean, why would he want to leave Dallas?
No, just accept the premise. Don't talk about the logistics.
I was trying to just kind of move around it in a way that I don't have to answer it.
Yeah, I need you to answer it.
I mean, the anti-Semitic stuff really hit me, and I didn't like it. As a basketball player, he is amazing, and I would love to have him on the Lakers as a basketball player. I don't like the off-the-court stuff, so it's hard for me to have.
Well, this goes on in all sorts of sports. Remember Albert Bell, the baseball player? He was such a good player, but he had all those issues off the field, and nobody eventually, you could say the same thing about Yasiel Puig. Yasiel Puig had undeniable talent.
Yeah.
But can you count on that guy not to get in trouble off the field? And as it turned out, it cost him his career.
Right.
Do you think there's anything to this? I think about this a lot. As anybody who listens to this show knows, I, for years, was a big Russell Westbrook fan. He just played harder than everybody else. So when he came to the Lakers, I thought it was going to work. Frank Vogel got fired because Russell Westbrook, they butted heads.
Right.
And Russell Westbrook did not want to go to the bench. So the Lakers trade him, and he gets released by the Jazz or whoever the Lakers traded him to, and he signs with the Clippers. And the Clippers told him from the word go, you're coming off the bench. We're not starting you.
Right.
All right. You're, and especially once James Harden arrived, you're now at this stage of your career a bench player, and Russ accepted it, and he's kind of flourished in it.
Right.
Do you think Kyrie, by the time he got to Dallas, he had worn out his welcome in Boston?
Yep.
He probably made a mistake demanding a trade from Cleveland after they'd won a title.
Yes.
Then he really flamed out in Brooklyn. That's when he was at his all-star. Do you think by the time he got to Dallas, like Westbrook, he said, you know what? I better make this work or I might be out of the league. And that was the motivator. And I think if that is part of this, then Kyrie becomes more acceptable, becomes more palatable because he's accepted his stage in life.
Right.
Do you think there's anything to that?
I do. I actually do. I mean, I do think people...
Like Westbrook didn't want to hear it coming off the bench when he played for the Lakers. And now it's all he does. Kyrie, if you would have told Kyrie, you're going to play second fiddle to Luka, there was once a point in his career he'd go, no, the reason I left LeBron is I want my own team.
Right.
But when he got to Dallas, he was like, this is Luka's team. I'm going to compliment him. We're going to be a 1-2 punch. Let's see how it goes. And now they're killing it.
Yeah, I mean, he's great. And obviously, Dallas, you look at the team now, they've got two closers, two guys that can finish a game. And it's...
Same with Boston. So if that's the finals, then look out.
So he's a guy, his basketball talent is undeniable.
Yes.
If you just buy basketball and what he can do, he would be amazing on this team because he's an amazing...
But would you take him, Greg?
I'm leaning more towards it now because
you've seen that he can clean up his act.
He cleaned up his act a little bit, absolutely. So, and what you see on the floor right now is unbelievable. He has the best handles I've ever seen out of any basketball
So you're willing
player.
to just move past it?
It's hard.
I am willing to move past it.
Yeah, I think
if it was to happen, and I think it's not going to happen, but if
I think
it was
he's in
to
Dallas
happen,
for good now.
Yeah, I think so do I. I think he's in Dallas for good. Why would you leave that, especially if you go to the finals?
Right, exactly. But remember, 2 years ago, we could have got him.
Yeah.
And
but that was in the heat of everything. I mean,
he was.
And by the way, I'm not criticizing you for your position.
Yeah, no.
On
by the
this.
way, the vaccine
I think
stuff.
you had the. I don't care about the vaccine stuff.
Yeah, I don't either.
But
he sat out because something was going on in Uzbekistan.
Right,
right.
Or
disappearing. That was an issue.
Or how about the, I'm leaving for 5 days and nobody could find him.
Right.
And he wouldn't call the. I mean, you can't do that.
No, you can't.
And now he looks like not only the great player that he's always been, but he looks like he's a great teammate. You listen to him talk after games, and he says all the right things.
Yep.
He's straightened out his career, but you couldn't see that 2 years ago.
No,
because he'd never done it.
Yeah, 2 years ago he was in the throes of all of that stuff that has cleared now, and yeah, I mean I'm rooting for Dallas to win the whole thing.
Well, I'm rooting for anybody playing Boston to win the whole thing.
Correct. I think it's going to be.
Dallas,
I think it's going to be Dallas. Don't you?
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be Minnesota. I think it's going to be Dallas. All right. Coming up next, for you can do some What's Up, Fool. In the meantime, want to help you if you're a motorcyclist. So you love the freedom of beating traffic and splitting lanes and making the rest of us jealous that you'll be home faster than we will. There is, of course, a huge risk when riding a motorcycle. Yep, all it takes is for one person to be distracted and not see you. Obviously, motorcycle accidents are usually more serious than a regular auto accident. Call Jacob immediately with a motorcycle accident because he's been doing this for 25 years. He's been helping motorcyclists. He knows your rights. He can help get you the medical care that you need without waiting. So if you or a friend or a loved one has been injured in a motorcycle accident, call Jacob. Let him help you get back on the bike and once again be king of the road. Finish with... Okay.
Did you just go Ron Burgundy? You did. Put anything in front of Mason and he'll read it.
Finish with.
Yeah.
A lot of attorneys say they'll fight for you. Call Jacob. He'll win for you. 844-24-JACOB. That's 844-24-JACOB. 844-24-JACOB. Or remember...
Accident or injury, call Jacob and Bronny. Call Jacob.
Call Jacob and make sure you tell him Mason and Ireland from 710 ESPN sent you. Mason and Ireland, 710 ESPN.
At 1 p.m. And yes, it's around 2:45 in the Southland. You know what we do each weekday at 2:45. What's up, fool? And we've been very excited that What's Up, Fool is made possible by our friends at Dos Hombres. In fact, we've got a special guest voice. Take it away, guest voice.
What's Up, Fool is brought to you by Dos Hombres Mezcal. It's fate. It's friendship. It's mezcal. Dos Hombres.
Look at that. How do I follow that? I don't. So I simply say, take it away, Corporate Greg.
Thanks, Morales. All right, so it's been about a year since the Ocean Gate Titan submersible disaster that happened. That was
that was
just
a
completely
terrible
awful.
thing, yeah.
Well, nobody should ever do that again. However, Larry Connor, who is an Ohio businessman and billionaire, told the Wall Street Journal that he plans to prove that a dive to the Titanic wreckage site can be done safely when proper engineering is employed. How stupid is this man?
I don't understand what the obsession is with going down there to see what's left.
It's a sunken boat.
Right.
What's the big deal? I mean, it's just wreckage at the bottom of the ocean.
A lot of people are saying, why are we all going skydiving? Like, why would you jump out of a perfectly good plane? Because for the thrill.
Yeah.
What's the thrill of getting in a submarine and going to the bottom of the ocean where everybody else has died
Especially
trying
when the
same
last
thing?
one just exploded. Why would you go down there?
Right, I don't get it.
Yeah. And people are probably paying a lot of money for it.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if he does this, he goes by himself. Nobody
Solo-
else should
solo
go
journey.
with him.
Yeah, just one billionaire to the Titanic.
One less
Yeah,
billionaire.
I don't get the obsession with this.
Yeah.
Never have.
It's all for the gram, John. All for the gram.
I guess so.
Exactly.
Mason will have a picture with himself in the submarine.
in
No
the
one else will
submarine.
be in it.
Right. It'll just be me. Me in the sub.
What's up, Foo?
All right, guys, we had a little bit of a MLB history last night, a little bit of record. Jeremiah Estrada for the Padres had 13 consecutive strikeouts. And the caveat here when I saw that is, I'm like, okay. A relief pitcher, his last 4 appearances, he has continued 13 straight strikeouts.
Wow.
Which is,
So
know,
it wasn't
now
all
MLB
in the
record.
same game.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
So it's been over the last, I think, week and a half. So my question I kind of, thought of, is that more impressive having the 13 straight in your last 4 appearances, or for like a starter to go out there and have a 13
No, the
strikeout game?
The starter would be more impressive.
The starter mowing them down from the start of the
Right,
game.
because you get to let your arm rest and reload every time you go out for a different reliever.
It's impressive.
Do you guys remember? You'll remember this guy because you grew up in Ohio. Do you remember the Big Red Machine in the 70s had a pitcher named Don Gullett?
Yeah, Don Gullett, sure.
Okay, so when Don Gullett was in high school, he's a left-handed flamethrower. He once had a perfect game with 27 strikeouts. So, in other words, everybody that came up, or they may have played 7 innings, so it may have been 21 strikes, but he struck out every batter that came up.
Yeah.
And that's how they got every out.
Yep.
And, when you make it, you move up, it becomes harder to do that. But that's impressive. If you can mow down an entire team in one day, that's more impressive than doing it over a 3 or 4 stars.
Still
Not
impressive.
to diminish what the guy did.
Yeah,
but
still impressive. But
would have been more impressive as a starter.
Yeah.
What's up, Foo?
Sticking with another relief pitcher here in baseball, it came out last week that Josh Hader had a set of Hader rules in his contract when he signed with the Astros.
Okay.
And there was a caveat with apparently the Padres didn't want to do this. That's why he didn't kind of re-sign. But the 3 rules he had were he could not pitch more than 2 days in a row, so no 3 days in a row.
Okay.
Could not pitch more than 3 outs, so only 3 outs at a time.
3 out saves.
And would not enter the game in a non-save situation or like a tie game.
Wow.
Now, do you think this is first one I've ever heard of somebody, relief pitcher putting these in as caveats into the contract? Is this going to be more of a commonplace? And the big thing here is he said he got hurt in arbitration when he was with the Brewers because he wasn't considered a closer because they kept pitching him more than 3 outs.
Right. Well, what's interesting is, remember in San Diego there was a knock that he wouldn't go out to pitch at some point because it had apparently would have been his 3rd consecutive day. So, I don't know. He's laying the rules out there. I don't think I'm looking for a guy that sets up the parameters for his performance. Now, I want him to be successful. If this what he thinks is going to make him the most successful, I guess I'd follow along, but I'd require some level of flexibility.
I wouldn't begrudge anybody for asking for something. You can always say no, which it sounds like the Padres did. And the Astros said yes.
Did the Astros say yes?
Yeah,
they
that's
did.
why
Okay.
he signed with the Astros, is they will fully accept his rules.
I have no problem with him asking for that. If everybody tells him to go pound sand, then he'd obviously have to. This goes full circle. We were talking about Bronny James. People say, how can Bronny James only agree to work out for 2 teams? And how can he say, I refuse to take a 2-way contract? Well, he can say and ask for all those things. But if a team doesn't meet it, then he's out of luck. So what's wrong with Hader asking for exactly what he wants? The worst they can tell him is no.
Right. I mean, I don't think I would agree to those rules if I was signing a guy. I want him to be successful, but I need a guy that's going to have a little bit more flexibility. Give me a 4-out save, like Kenley Jansen style 4-out save.
Oh, yeah.
Mariano Rivera 4-out save. Like that's pretty legit.
It is an interesting lesson in leverage. For example, if like Mason and I's contracts were up, Greg, and we came to you and we said,
like Cappy's is now.
and or that, yeah,
It's like
Cap
30 days about
yeah,
now?
if
30 days.
Cap came to you and go, okay, as part of my new deal, I refuse to work Fridays, and I don't want to ever do have to show up for anything on a weekend. And so you would be
no Mandy's,
no anything on a weekend, whatever it is.
Nothing on a weekend.
So you would have to say that's either a deal breaker for you or I like this guy, I can work around that. And that's all what Hader's doing. He's saying, here's how I want things to be. They can agree to it or they can tell him to get lost.
Right.
So there's nothing wrong with the ask. Chances are, Greg, if Cappy asked you for that stuff, you would say, not going to work for me, and he would have to rescind some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I would not.
He did ask for it, and I told him absolutely not.
Did he ask for that? Yeah.
Right. He actually wanted Mondays and Fridays
Mondays
off.
and Fridays.
Yeah, it was really weird.
Tuesday through Thursday.
Yeah.
No, I mean, in the case of Josh Hader, he's just not the pitcher he used to be. That's the problem, ultimately. They agreed to terms on a pitcher who isn't the same guy. He's got a 4 ERA now. He's got like 7 saves and 3 blown saves. I mean, he's a guy that's going to save some games, but I'd want more flexibility from my closer.
What's up, Foo?
All right, guys, going to the world of college football here. Boise State football coach Spencer Danielson, I believe, came out and said he's not going to be doing any NIL or he's not going to be advertising NIL for freshmen. Instead, he wants them to earn it. Now, as somebody went to college, if I was a high school kid and I'm like, where am I going to play football? This has kind of got to hurt them, right? Getting the top recruiting class that he wants the freshmen to earn the NIL, and he's not going to be, come here and get some NIL money.
This is just dumb. How does he expect to be competitive without NIL money up front?
If I'm a good high school player, all right, and I have some options, why would I ever go play for this guy? If USC is going to give me an NIL deal worth a couple $1 million and the other guy says, yeah, we don't do that here, earn it, I'm going to USC.
Oh, 100%.
I don't understand where this guy thinks. Again, this is kind of all part of the same conversation. He doesn't have any leverage here, this coach at BYU. He's going to fight. He's going to have to. This reminds me, Mace, of when Coach K said, I will never take a player who doesn't stay for the duration.
Right.
Who doesn't stay for 4 years. And then he watched.
He evolved.
He watched Kentucky get everybody.
Yep.
And Coach K said, if I want to get Jay Williams and Elton Brand and Grant Hill, I've got to adjust. This coach is going to have to adjust.
Yeah, I think, how do you get a recruiting class? If Fresno State offers you NIL money and Boise State offers you nothing, I think I'm going to go where the money is. And I can't blame those kids for doing it.
What's up, Foo?
I got one more for you here. Staying in the world of college World Series baseball is about to be kicking off here this week. Special story here. Have you guys ever seen the movie The Final Season? It's a baseball movie, I think, early 2000s.
No.
It's based on a high school in like Indiana where it was this was their final season. They're going to play. The school's closing, and they go out and win a championship kind of deal, the last hurrah. So Birmingham Southern, the baseball team, D3 college, have announced in March that the school is closing. Okay. At the time of the announcement, the team, I think, had lost 9 of their last 14 games. The coach said, hey, after this year, this is it. Everybody's got to go their separate ways. They went on a 19-3 run, beat the number 2 seed, in all of Division III, and now have entered the College World Series Division III, which starts on Friday.
Wow.
And that same day, Friday, is the day that the school's closing forever.
So they may be going out literally with a bang, with a title.
Right. And so they're kind of saying they're going to be playing, because the
what this
tournament's
reminds
a week
me
long.
of? This is the plot of Major League.
Yeah.
When the players find out that the woman's trying to sell the team and move it to Miami, and the players go in the locker room, and one of them stands up and goes, well, there's only one thing we can do. Win the whole effing thing. And they do. They go on a run and win the whole effing thing. So I'll root for them. Good for them.
Yes.
I love stories like that.
Yeah, no, it's a cool story. Sad that they're going to win and go out of business.
Right. So if they do win, I think it'll be a couple days after the school closes. So they'll have won for a school no longer exists.
All right. Cool. Yeah, that's a nice story. I hope they do it. Sad the school's going away, I guess.
Hey, can I say happy birthday to a couple of our favorite guys?
Yeah.
All right. Today May 29th.
Mm-hmm.
Austin Reeves' birthday.
Hey!
He turns 26 today. And Puka Nakua's birthday. Puka Nakua turns 23 today.
Wow, 23.
So both Austin Reeves and Puka Nakua celebrating birthdays.
Such great players.
Yeah.
Such great players. All right. Coming up next, Woj just said something that I think we should play. It's about the Lakers coaching search.
Good.
And it's the very latest. So we'll do that coming up next. Mason, Ireland, 710 ESPN.
Coming up today.
The most downloaded sports radio show in Los Angeles. The podcast, that is.
Mason and Ireland, the #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles. The #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles. And we thank all of our podcast listeners for that.
If you ever miss a moment, get your fill anytime. Just search Mason and Ireland wherever you get your podcast.
You guys know what a cicada is?
Yeah, it's the bugs that make the noise.
The bugs, okay. So, and they're like big as a man's hand. Not quite. Close. So, the story of the cicada is that they come out every 17 years. You know this, right?
I didn't know that.
Okay, so they hatch or whatever every 17 years. Then there's another group of cicadas that hatch every 13 years. This year is the only time this century that they both line up. So this 17-year cicadas and the 13-year cicadas are all coming out at the same time. So apparently across the Midwest, it's just bug mania.
Good to know.
So there's a bar in Chicago that has developed what they're calling a cicada-infused malort. What's a malort?
Never heard of it.
Don't know.
Looks like a whiskey. I'm just gonna go whiskey. It says that the malort is infused with cicada. It gives it a lobster-like flavor sensation.
Lobster?
Lobster-like flavor sensation.
I don't think I want that in a drink. But okay.
You can add your own cicada husks for extra flavor. So you bring your cicada husks with you. It's safe, nutritious, totally unique. Don't miss this very rare opportunity to savor the flavors of the cicada. John Yin, you want some Malort with cicada?
I'll try it.
Yeah, see, I would try it too.
Yeah.
I went to a bar where they had I drank something called a cricket drink. It was called the Cricket.
Cricket in there?
And there was an actual cricket sitting on top of that big square ice cube. Yeah, there they are.
By the way,
that's what we often hear after bits.
A lot of times.
A lot of times.
Jepson's Malort is an American brand of Basque liqueur, a type of Bronvine flavored with anise and wormwood.
Okay, there you go.
How
and
many
then
of
you
those
add a little
words in
cicada.
that sentence do you think you pronounced accurately?
Is and.
Is and. Both. Got both of those
Yeah, I
right.
don't want to drink anything that's labeled as safe. You're like, oh, it's safe to drink.
Oh, it's safe to drink. You're right.
Come on now.
It's definitely causes of concern. All right, so there's your lesson on cicadas. I've got, which leads to an interesting question about the Lakers head coaching job.
Which is?
Woj has made an appearance. I think this was on NBA Today. And, Brian, you've got this lined up. We've talked a lot about J.J. Redick, Lakers head coach. Here's what Woj said as of today.
Yeah, Ty Lue was never really on a part of that search. But the Lakers now are starting to bring in candidates for longer, in-depth interviews. They had a series of, I think, kind of get-to-know-you interviews with people they didn't know as well. I'm told that New Orleans top assistant James Borrego is meeting with the Lakers today in L.A. This is his second meeting. He was the head coach in Charlotte for 3 years, got progressively better each year, an elite NBA offense in Charlotte, and you saw the work he did with Zion Williamson and that team. He's a very serious candidate in this Lakers search, but they're going to bring in more. And there's going to be, I think, over the next few weeks, you're going to see, more candidates come back in and dig a little deeper with the Lakers on this head coaching job. They're nowhere close on this one.
He says they're nowhere close on deciding who the head coach is.
I think they're going to wait till the end of the finals anyway because, J.J. Redick took over for Doc Rivers midseason, and it'd be a really bad look if he left during the finals. So my guess is, and it's a guess, the Lakers will not announce a head coach until after the finals.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think they will because I think it is going to be J.J. Redick.
Right.
I think they're going to wait. And what's weird is J.J. Redick was doing some analysis earlier today. Do you have that? Yeah, okay. So listen to J.J. Redick talk about Chris Paul, who's been linked to the Lakers.
The two best places, I think, for him to win a championship, it's Phoenix, as you said, and the Los Angeles Lakers. And specifically with the Lakers, I believe he fills a little bit of a need there at that point guard position, which they struggled with in the playoffs. In addition, man, I'd love to see CP and AD run pick and roll. Oh, my goodness. I would love to see that. Last point I want to make, and again, this is just a personal little side on this. When Chris was traded to Oklahoma City, his family stayed, and his kids started going to school, back to school in L.A. after being in Houston for a while. When he moved to Phoenix, his family stayed in L.A. So he's now spent 4 seasons without his family during the season. And obviously, they come to Phoenix when he can. If he has an off day, he goes to see his son, who's now a hooper, little CP, in L.A. Wow, wouldn't it be nice to be back and living full-time with your family during the NBA season? Something to consider.
Yeah, I mean, it's weird for a head coaching candidate to discuss a player who might or might not be on his roster for next year.
Right. I actually like the idea of the Lakers bringing in Chris Paul, particularly if he'll play for the minimum. Just because someone...
Do you think he will play for the minimum?
Someone has to play point guard.
Right.
LeBron can run the point. Austin Reeves can run the point. But Chris Paul is if you get 20 minutes out of Chris Paul and he's getting assists and not turning the ball over and get you into an organized play set, and LeBron respects him, that can help.
Well, I guess
I don't hate this idea.
If Chris
at all.
Paul, I wouldn't bring in Chris Paul for anything over the minimum. I mean, they've got work to do. They've got other needs to fill. And I don't think he solves who's the next big star. Like I think now everybody seems to be zeroed in on Darius Garland in Cleveland. I think Donovan Mitchell's the first choice, but Darius Garland is now a possibility for the Lakers. Again, a point guard who can help facilitate. That one makes sense. And he's a clutch guy. That's the other thing. He's a clutch guy.
Which helps
Yes,
in
it
all
does
of
make
this.
a difference. It
Yeah.
does make a difference.
By the way, I think that clip may be old. I don't know.
It may be old?
It may be old because he's talking about that Chris Paul is in Phoenix and his family flies to Phoenix.
No, he said that when he played in Phoenix before he got traded to Oklahoma City.
Yeah, he didn't mention anything about Golden State where he was this
Yeah, it could've
last
been.
year.
Yeah, maybe
So I think I may have been an old. So it's not him talking about it.
But it is tipping his hand a little bit, or at least then talking about Chris Paul. He likes Chris
whenever
Paul.
it was, but I don't think that was recent.
That wasn't. Okay. I came across on Twitter today, but you never know.
By the way,
they might have
Dodger
taken
update.
it.
They were ahead 3-0. Now it's 3-3, bottom of the 6th in New York against the Mets. And then, Greg, after this game, they're flying home, right?
Yeah, they're flying home for 3 games and then flying back out to Pittsburgh and New York again.
Makes a lot of sense.
Who are the 3 games at home against?
The Rockies.
Okay.
So 3 versus the Rockies, then 3 against Pittsburgh, and 3 against the Yankees. So you go New York, L.A., New York.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Stupid.
That's bad scheduling. All right, coming up next, we hate the Houston Astros, but they've done something smart, and now the Dodgers should absolutely do the same thing. I'll tell you what it is next. Mason, Ireland, 7:10.
Mason and Ireland, the #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles. The #1 most downloaded sports podcast in Los Angeles, and we thank all of our podcast listeners for that.
If you ever miss a moment, get your fill anytime. Just search Mason and Ireland wherever you get your podcast.
Dodgers Mets are 3-3. Bottom of the 6th inning. Mets have 2 runners on, and Anthony Banda on the mound for the Dodgers, trying to work his way out of a jam there. We'll keep you up to date on that. In the meantime, there's a player, John, who started the year 7 for 71. 7 for 71.
Okay.
Name is Jose Abreu. Jose Abreu had a terrible start to the year.
Former MVP.
Yes. And the Houston Astros, even though he's on a big deal, got him to agree to go down to the minor league complex and work. He is now back on the major league roster, and he says that the entire experience was the best thing he's ever gone through in his career. He said, "This made me realize what I'm made for. Going through this made me realize who I am." The Dodgers have a player who is off to a similarly bad start. I've not checked the numbers, Greg. How's our friend Chris Taylor doing?
He was up to 110 the last I saw.
Up to 110?
Because he had that bunt. That was a terrible bunt.
That was a great bunt because it worked.
Yeah,
the bunt
what are you talking about? It worked flawlessly.
Yeah.
As long as it works, it's fine.
Ottavino didn't catch it, so it counts. It worked. It got the tie and run home. So what's wrong with this as a model for how to work with Chris Taylor?
Well, does anyone know, has the Dodgers asked Chris Taylor to do this? Because if I'm Chris Taylor, I would agree.
Yeah, I do not know the answer to that. I don't know if the Dodgers have asked, if they've tried. Because
you can't play him when he's in that big of a slump.
No, you cannot play him.
And he needs to work through it. So.
By the way, no, he's off. He's on a tear. He's now 8 for 73.
He does have a couple of hits in his last game.
The bunt counts.
The bunt does count because he got on base.
He got on base, yeah. So, 8 for 73. Oh, God. That's got to be terrible. It's got to be terrible.
But everything that everybody's saying, whether it's Dino Ebel, it's Doc, they all say the same thing. We really trust in him. That he's done so much for us in the past. We think he's going to turn it around. All those things. So he's had 3 hits. What was that? 3 hits in his last 5 games.
All right.
Oh, actually 4 hits in
Rolling.
the last 7 games.
Okay, so maybe he's figuring it out.
It's over. He's figured it out. We don't need to send him down. What are we talking about?
4 hits in his last 7 games. I mean,
he's got his batting average in triple digits now. 110.
So, Mace, I asked this question yesterday when you weren't here.
Yeah.
The Dodgers had lost 5 games in a row.
Yes.
And then last night they snapped out of it with a doubleheader sweep.
Correct.
How many games in a row would they have to lose before you would get worried that the Dodgers aren't who we thought they were? Is it? It's not 5 because you're not worried.
15. You lose 15 in a row.
They could lose 14 games in a row and you wouldn't be worried?
Correct.
Yeah, I would be.
They're so much better than everybody, John.
Depends on how they
they hadn't lost 5 games in a row since 2019.
I know, but I mean, that happens.
It hadn't happened since 2019.
But there's no level. I have no level of concern about the Dodgers. The Dodgers are going to win the division and be in the playoffs.
Well, that was the question. How many games would they have to lose in order for you to get concerned?
15.
15, yeah, that's a lot.
I think it just depends on how they lost those games. Was it because of how it is right now where the offense just can't get a hit?
Yeah, they're 30th in batting average right now. They're not getting on base. Particularly the bottom of the lineup is really broken.
But, John, they have the largest divisional lead of any team in baseball.
Yeah, I'm not worried about the division.
Well,
they win the division every year.
Right.
What I'm worried about is repeating what we've seen before, and that is get to the postseason, lay an egg.
Okay, so I want to point out a couple. First of all, the Dodgers have, and I mentioned Anthony Banda on the mound for the Dodgers, got out of that jam. The Dodgers have had a revolving door in the bullpen. Guys come, guys go. And the reality is that they've been operating without the 3 guys that they were counting on most in the bullpen, which is Evan Phillips, it is Joe Kelly, and it is Ryan Brazier. All those guys are on the injured list, and I think those are like the 3 most valuable arms they've got, Bergman.
Yeah, Blake Trinan is back, and he's been
and he's
great.
been good. Yeah,
and they're using him very, very sparingly, which I like because it doesn't matter right now. He needs to be healthy later on down the season.
Correct. Yeah,
but Evan Phillips is supposed to be back Friday, right? Is from what I read, and Brazier is still trying to work his way back. But those were three guys that were really, really really.
And I haven't heard anything about Gratterall.
Gratterall was supposed to come back mid-May, and I haven't heard anything recently, so maybe it's got pushed into. It has to have been pushed into June at this point.
You saw Ohtani is now throwing 80 miles an hour.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to pitch this year.
No. He shouldn't pitch this year. He should pitch when Dr. Elatrage or whoever it is says it's time to pitch. But it's encouraging that he's out there and he's throwing. So no, I don't really have any concern about the Dodgers. Even when I thought they hadn't won since we had been there, which was bothering me.
Well, that's Brian's fault.
Yeah, Brian.
Yeah, my bad. Sorry.
He is the cooler. They'd gone
for many games.
We went and they lost 5 in a row, including that night. So finally, they did snap out of it yesterday. They're in this thing today. But the bullpen, I think, has been the missing high leverage arms. I think has really hurt them.
Hey, Bergman, you sent this the other day, and I am wondering why.
Why did I send it?
No. You sent a story that Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred came out and said that they're not close to putting in the robotic strike zone, at least not as close as they thought they were going to be. Why?
So it's the system isn't working as well as they want it to. It's not perfect.
Because they're using it in the minors now.
Is it working as well as Angel Hernandez?
Well, he's gone, so it doesn't
they got rid
really
of him
matter.
finally. But how about Joe West coming out, who wasn't a great umpire either?
He was terrible umpire.
And coming out and say, he was really good at it. There is no metric by which Angel Hernandez was good at it.
Yeah, that's not the club I want to be in.
Yeah,
Cowboy Joe West was an awful umpire.
Why are we afraid to call out umpires and referees and officials who aren't good?
No,
I understand that
I say that all the time about NBA refs who are absolutely terrible and who are making the most random calls in the world.
But quietly, the NBA weeds out the bottom 5% every year. Baseball doesn't.
Well, yeah,
baseball lets guys like Angel Hernandez last for 3 decades.
It's because they've got a strong union.
Yep.
Right.
It's the union. Baseball unions, umpires union, players union, the strongest.
Yeah, it just seems to me that we can all have a baseline of agreeing that if you're incompetent, you can't work.
I completely agree.
No, he's not incompetent, but Scott Foster is known as the extender, and it happened again last night. Is there anything in that to you?
I would actually, if you told me, biggest game of your life, pick 3 refs, I would put Scott Foster in
Really?
there. I'd put Scott Foster, Mark Davis, and Zach Zarba in that game. And here's
why does he have that reputation of being the extender?
Chris Paul.
No, he's something like 42-19 in games that were going to extend it.
Right, but Chris Paul has like this insane bad record against him.
Well, he's like 0-17.
But if you the reason I like those 3 officials is that they are all on record as saying they baseball umpires for whatever reason refuse to admit when they're wrong. All those other guys will say, "You know what, I missed that one." And that's all you need. You need some humility to do those jobs. And if you can't do it, if you're Angel Hernandez, 3 decades of being ranked in the bottom of umpires, you should go. Whatever it costs to get rid of that guy, money well spent. Get him out.
Well, let me ask you about Scott. Why is his record the way it is in closeout games where the series tends to get extended when he's the official? Is that an accident?
I think part of it is coincidental, but the number one thing I like about Scott Foster is he's not affected by the home crowd. Matter of fact, I think his record is slightly tilted the other way. Like the visiting teams do better when he refs. And most refs, because they don't want to get booed, will tilt towards the home team.
Right, yeah. Generally speaking, the home team shoots more free throws.
Yeah, but I've obviously worked hundreds of games that Scott Foster has officiated, and I've found him to be a good ref. And he grades out really well every year. It's the bottom 5 refs in the NBA are gone. They send them either to the G League or just fire them, and they bring more people up. So the NBA does it right. Baseball, to your point, has such a strong umpires union, you can't fire these guys.
Yeah, no, it's virtually impossible. There was like a legal thing that went on.
The same thing exists in another walk of life with teachers. Yeah, it's really hard to fire a teacher because of unions. Now,
and because nobody really wants to do that job, which is so important.
Right. Like, I think we should pay teachers way more and hold them to a higher standard. So the good ones get rewarded, but if you're not good, you go do something else.
Right.
But it's easier said than done.
Hey, Bergman, you threw out a number. Is Scott Foster's record, what is it when...
I'm looking for it again, but I heard Sedano talking about it the other day, or maybe it was...
when George comes in, let's bring this up.
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if George doesn't think Scott Foster's a good ref. I think he
he's
is.
something along the lines of 42-19. I don't know if that's the exact number, but I'm looking for it right now.
What I want is an official who, when he screws up, can say, you know what, I missed that one, I'll do better the next time. Not, no, I'm right, you're wrong, technical foul.
In the last 21 playoff games that Scott Foster has refereed, not game one, the team behind in the series is 19-2.
Yeah, that's weird.
I mean, that's not coincidence anymore.
19-2.
That's weird.
That is weird.
But I found Scott to be...
He certainly ended... that name is correct.
And that was on April 25th, so he's had multiple games since then. And then one last night, they won, so it was 20 and...
Yeah, like I've heard Patrick Beverly, who complains about everything, say Scott Foster's his favorite ref.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, if you're down in a series, he's the guy you want to see.
Yeah, amen.
Right. I mean,
I mean,
Timberwolves rooting for him again tomorrow night.
Yeah, I want more games.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, I know.
Good.
Indiana laid an egg, which is disappointing. This series, although this series has been very Lakers-Denver-y. I mean,
Minnesota's been
like
right there in all the games.
Over it. The margin of victory has been so slim in these games. So I do think Minnesota. You think they got a shot to climb back into the series?
I hope they win tomorrow, because if they do, I think it makes Game 6 super interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Game 6 would be on Saturday night, and it would be because think about this: if Dallas loses that, Game 7 in Minnesota Monday.
Whew.
So it would be really fun. So I'm rooting for the Wolves.
Yeah, me too. Hey, you want to come out and hang out with me on Saturday at the Santa Monica Pier for the L.A. County Department of Mental Health Take Action event? You know, I talk a lot about the L.A. County Department of Mental Health, my partnership with these guys, and it's important to me, and I think is making a difference in people's lives. And this event on Saturday is from 3 to 7. I'll be there at 3 o'clock for an awesome day of fun and learning and community with educational resources, interactive booths.